Hello, I just would like to introduce Paul Doherty. He is a staff engineer at Apex FinTech Solutions, one of our sponsors today. Paul has over 9 years of experience, mainly in the FinTech space, and he will look at AI, how it has changed the software development for developers on a day-to-day basis, and have a look at Copilot and how companies can use AI with real-world examples. After Paul's spoken, we'll have a chance for Q&A, so think about what questions you may wish to ask. Over to you, Paul.
Let's look at AI, because specifically the risk that could lead to the extinction of humans. Many top experts have signed a statement warning of the risks of artificial intelligence. And
what would be the most nightmare scenario you can imagine with AI and robotics that might present a danger to people?
The most nightmare scenario I can imagine with AI and robotics is a world where robots have become so powerful that they are able to control or manipulate humans without their knowledge. This could
widely seen as the godfather of artificial intelligence has quit his job at Google, warning of the dangers of AI. Dr. Geoffrey Hinton's pioneering research on deep learning and neural networks has paved the way for current AI systems like
Mitigating the risk of extinction from AI should be a global priority alongside other societal scale risks, such as pandemics and nuclear war. It may be absurd, certainly cliched, to reach for the science fiction as we wonder what our future might hold, but the question seems to be how much of this could soon be fact.
Absolutely terrifying, isn't it? Hello, I'm Paul Doherty. Let's get the introductions out of the way. Who am I? I just said it. Paul Doherty. I'm a software developer. I've been doing it for 9 years. I love my job. Absolutely love it. So, why this topic? Well, it was simple. Watch that video at the start. Everybody wants to talk about AI, and people seem to be focusing on the doomsday of it. I think that's crazy, especially in software development. We should be looking to innovate. We should be looking to push forward. But there's a lot of people here turning around saying, nah, software development shouldn't have AI, too dangerous, problematic. Now, why is that? Can anybody think off the top of their head? Well, I think I've worked it out. Knocker-uppers. You obviously all know what that term means. Come on. Where are all my 80-year-olds? So, a knocker-upper, up until around the 1940s, was a person whose job was to go around door to door with a big stick and knock on a window. Why am I talking about knocker-uppers? Because in the 1940s, electricity became widespread. And once that happened, something very important was invented, the alarm clock. Once the alarm clock came in, that profession was wiped out. I think this is what people are afraid of in software development. So, AI, the future of software development. Now, as I mentioned before, I am a developer. There is one key characteristic about every single developer you've ever met. They are lazy. So I have to do a talk on software development and AI. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get AI to write some of it. So this is my mobile. Ignore the fact there's Burger King, McDonald's, and the Slim Chickens app there. Write me an introduction dispelling the dangers of AI while emphasizing the role of it in software development. Make it funny in about 3 minutes. So there we go. Done. That's my introduction done. Just give me a second here. Do you not just hate it when somebody pulls out a bit of paper and reads directly off it for a presentation? Now, I hate it for a different reason from all of you. I hate it because it's not lazy enough. I want to go next level lazy. I don't want to read it at all. So I got my friend Colin to do it. This is Colin. He's Irish. Apparently not on time either.
Today, we're going to dive into the intriguing world of AI, or as I like to call it, the wizardry of the 21st century. You might have heard some rumors about AI taking over the world. Fear not. We're here to set the record straight. AI is like your trusty sidekick in software development. It's the Robin to your Batman, the peanut butter to your jelly. AI helps us create software faster, smarter, and with fewer bugs. Gone are the days of coding marathons. AI is here to help us run the race with style. Sure, the occasional sci-fi movie will portray AI as the villain, plotting world domination while sipping an evil cup of virtual tea. But AI is only as good as the folks programming it. It's like blaming the spoon for a bad bowl of soup. You've got to have a good chef in the kitchen. So, embrace AI with open arms, and let's build a future where software is faster, more efficient, and peppered with a sprinkle of humor. After all, who knows, maybe one day AI will crack a joke that actually lands.
Well done, Colin. So, we're talking a lot about AI, and I'm not going to go into the deep intricacies of what AI is or build you out an AI model, but I am going to give you some overlay of what like the key terms are, because it's important to understand. So you'll hear this a lot, a model, this is the most important model, this is the best model, this is the model that's fastest. All a model is an engine. If you imagine a car, it's the engine. It's the part that runs the code that does your AI for you. Data sets. Everybody talks about data sets. They're so important. All a data set is your data. If you work in fintech, your data set's your trades. It's your positions. If you work in health service, it's your client records. It's your billing. What is a notebook? Simply put, back to the analogy about the car, AI is your model is your engine. Then the notebook is just your chassis. It's the part that drives the code. It's the part that you run the code on. Think of like Juniper. It's probably the best example. What is neural network? If you talk about AI, someone eventually will jump in and say neural network. I think it's a rule. Neural network is basically just getting the computer to think like the human brain, to make the same patterns and recognitions the human brain would make. So AI types, these overlap. There's not one specific type to each one. Narrow, you're thinking of one specific task that it does really well. Think of Siri. When I turn around and say, Siri, play my Metallica/Taylor Swift playlist, it plays it for an hour, no problem. General, that's a more complex type of AI, where you're trying to mix AIs together to try and learn off each other and make better patterns. That's your image recognition systems. They can pick up one thing and they'll be able to work out what it is, and then they'll be able to use that to work out other things. Natural language processing, where I see an example of that, it's your ChatGPT. It's giving you the idea that computers can understand English and respond in kind, or any other language, sorry. Deep learning, that's your self-driving cars. If you've seen any of the systems like Cruise, which I believe operates out of Texas, they're cars that just drive around their own. I seen a video last week of one that stopped behind a police car because a police officer had pulled someone over, and it knew to maneuver out and around when it was safe, all without a driver. And then your generative AI. So generative AI is your content creation. It's using AI to make things that don't exist. Now, this is the type that's very popular at the minute, and rightfully so. It's very powerful. You can use it for such important things. We could bridge gaps for people with disabilities. We can do so much with it. And obviously, what we're using it for is, there's me, YearCam app. There's me as a footballer. I actually had that outfit when I was 16, so it's shocking. There's me as a rock star, there's me as a student. Now, these are funny pictures, but the thing that I'm interested in is this. That's the only picture this app got, and yet it was able to generate these pictures, the different facial expressions from that. The power of an app which was free and just based on a bit of fun. So that leads us to, where are we in AI? Because the doomsdayers would have you believe that we're at the point that AI is going to destroy us all. We're not. So we're roughly here. Narrow, weak tasks. Siri works brilliant. Some of the more complex stuff doesn't. We guess by about 2040, we'll have AI strong in general, working perfect. And then soon after that, AI will write AI, and we'll get super intelligence. What that comes down to for me, though, the most important part of the slide is this. So if we're looking here, humanity at risk, jobs at risk, jobs enhanced. These two are hypothetical. They are made up that in 2040, we will have so much problems with AI. This one, jobs enhanced, is the only one that we know is true because it's happening right now. So the first thing I'm going to show you is an example of one that will enhance our jobs. It is called Copilot. If you've come across Copilot before, these next two memes will make sense. So thinking about a keyword, just searching in Google. And Copilot, what is my purpose? You write unit tests. So I'm going to give you a live demo of things you can do with Copilot, just to give you a flavor for how powerful this thing actually is. So I'm going to go in here. And I'm going to go on here. Ignore the fact that that died. So we go into IntelliJ, and I'll open up my main class. Close that off, and get that away. Right, so this is just a records class. It's a very simple customer. It's got name, email address, phone, address line 1. So on here now, basically it's already worked out that I want to do something. That is Copilot now. I tab in, I say, okay, well, you want to put that in? We'll put this in as that. And then it's going to go, oh, you probably do want to make a full record. So there, it's already worked out that I want to do that. So if I just do 4, It's starting to work out that I want to start looping through something, and it's decided, oh, you want to loop through just records, maybe a number of times, maybe you want to print these out 10 times. If I run this now, it will automatically do that. Now, Copilot, sorry, I forgot to mention, Copilot is a Git offering. It's built into your Git, and it uses OpenAI to work out what should go where. Now, there's a lovely wee plugin over here, and you can refresh this, and it'll start giving you, well, if I actually had anything to put on there, it would start giving me things, different things that I can do with Copilot, and you can accept the solution, and it automatically puts it in. Now, here's where I'm going to point out that not all plugins are equal, because the IntelliJ plugin is okay. The Visual Studio Code is where it really gets going. So I'm going to open Visual Studio. I know a lot of Java developers are thinking, well, you don't really use Visual Studio for anything, come on. So this is that same class in here. So I'm just going to keep my record. Actually, I'm not even going to keep my record. I'm going to take everything out. And I'm just going to ask this to make me some records. So I don't know if you guys can see that. Create me 10 records. Fill in all fields. I can't spell. Fill in all fields. Loop through them. Now, there is a chance that this will fail the first time because I may have to close, and that's basically to do with my own machine, nothing to do with Copilot. So no, there it goes. And it will start explaining why it's doing it as well. So if we look here, it goes through a loop, and it will go create the 10 records, and then it'll loop through here, and it'll print them out. That is how clever it is. It knows that. There's also an option here where I can just pull that directly back into my code. So the thing is, yes, that's great, but what if I wanted it to be thread safe? We all panic when we hear the word thread safe because you think, how did I do threads last time? What's the best way we do this? And you go back to Google and you find that purple link where you did it before. And immediately it says, OK, well, I'll do it in a thread. And it starts looping in threads. And if you notice, all I wrote here was, how do I make it thread safe? I didn't give it back the same prompt. I just said, it's reading from the context of what I asked it before. Oh, you want to make it thread safe? Fair enough. So what if I said, well, actually, I don't want a thing. I want a map. Make it a map. It'll do a wee bit of thinking. And surely this is much quicker than any software developer you've ever seen write the code. I don't care how good they are. They will never be able to write at this speed. So yeah, let's go back to the list then. The original list. So we've got our list here. And I'm going to just dump it. And in fact, you know what? That's the full class, so I can just dump the whole class back in. And there we go. And if I run this, it should print out all 10 of those. And it did. There we go, all 10. Now, I know we can do this with IntelliJ as well. Completely relevant, but I want to extract this in a method. We work in methods. We don't just work in one massive class. Now, obviously, I want to point out these are very simple examples, but you can see the idea of being able to write a prompt will very quickly give you code. Extract into a method. So now we go on here. So yeah, so if I again delete the whole thing, it's now extracted that into create records. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm very quickly going to change this to a much better method name. We all do this at some stage. Method A, method A. So yeah, that's a perfect method. You know exactly what it does. We all love it. Obviously not. That's not what we want in our code. So here's an example of another thing that Copilot can do, and I think it's genius. You can talk to it like a real human and say, give me a better name. Give me a better name for method A. And it will go, look at the code, pull it back, read through it, and work out what it's doing. And then it'll say, oh yeah, you probably call this get customer records. It's worked out, yeah, these records are most likely customers. Yeah, get customer records. And it's inferring these things. And that makes it useful because how many times has someone got a PR sent back with, I don't like the name of that method, or I don't like the name of that variable, and then you sit for hours thinking about something so simple and so trivial, but validly important, because when the next person comes and looks at it in 2 years, you don't really want to be sitting there going, what is that? It's an A or an X? So the last thing I'm going to show you on Copilot is, again, something that I would use daily. And I do apologize to everybody who does test-driven development, because I should have done this the other way around for you, but I only have a set amount of time. Writing unit tests. Copilot is brilliant at it, and as a developer, it's one thing that I hate doing. I am a narcissist. If I write code, I believe my code works perfectly. There is no need to test it, just ship it right out to production. Write me a unit. Oh, write me a unit test for method A. Oh, yeah, it's still called method A. Yep. I didn't even spell unit right, so I wonder what this is going to come up with. Yeah, it worked it out. That's a unit, that's a JUnit test, and it's assert and equals that all of the different records on it equals. It's even running through a for loop, and it's got all the asserts done. That is that unit test would run, and it would give me a pass. So yeah, you're probably thinking now, well, that's great, but that's Java. It's not only Java, it's pretty much every language, every major language. So for example, one thing that I always forget to do, write me a loop in shell for reading files. Yes, because there's always that one project that still runs on shell somewhere, and you go, oh, we have to update that, no. And yeah, very quickly here. And another quick feature that I will show you is that if I looked at that and said, no, I don't like it, that's the wrong way to do it. Give me another way. And it's thinking, yep, oh, it's picked up the context for the for each again. Oh, because that's probably the predominant one. Yeah, well, that shows me another way of doing this instead. But yeah, you get the idea. If I had been more specific with that and say, look, give me another way to write this loop, it would have done that, and it would have showed us, and we would have had it. But the idea behind it is that would make coding so much simpler, specifically around the idea of unit tests and code that you know is very simple, but it's one of those things you go, how did I do this before? And it works for threads, it works for executor service, it works for all the more complex stuff as well. So back to reality. Is this going to start from here? Let's see. There we go, Copilot. So yeah, as you said there, me thinking about the keyword I searched in Google that took me to the right Stack Overflow page. If you can imagine if you had that all in a chat that you could go back to and go, oh, there's the actual code snippet with an explanation of why that's the way to do it. And the other one, what is my purpose? Write unit tests. That's originally what made me look at Copilot at all. I was not interested in Copilot. We had brought it under the company. I wasn't interested, and I seen that meme, and I thought, that could save me time. Right, so there was a user survey done on this. I'm not going to go into too much detail on this. Basically what happened was users who used Copilot said that it made them write code quicker, made them, took them shorter time to complete code, and then that their code quality was significantly improved. So, is Copilot the only one in the market? Of course it's not. As soon as Copilot came out, every other big company jumped on and said, oh yeah, well, we've got one coming too. It's just not ready yet. AI Assistant is IntelliJ's version. It's linked in the IntelliJ. Sneaky, my own opinion, is that the plugin for Copilot is so bad on IntelliJ because they built AI Assistant, and they're going to release that out. That's coming very soon. That is in a very early beta, and you can join a waiting list. AWS Code Whisper will integrate directly into AWS, and if you're an AWS system, it seems like it's built into the AWS code itself, so it seems like the perfect way to do it if you're doing AWS. Duet AI, that is going to be Google's offering. That will come as part of the Google suite, the G Cloud suite. All of them seem to be very similar. All of them are waiting lists at the minute. None of them have properly delivered out yet to the mass public. I tried to get on the waiting list and couldn't, so I had to watch videos of them. And they all seem to be very similar to the VS Code plugin. So these will obviously be subscription service. You'll have to have an AWS account. You'll have to have a Google Cloud account. You'll have to have Ultimate Edition of IntelliJ. But the point is that Enterprise is pushing forward with it. Enterprise sees the value in this. Enterprise decided, yes, this is the way forward. So what if you weren't Enterprise? What if you're a smaller company, or if you didn't need Enterprise? What if you just wanted to see if you could build something with AI? Build something in your own time. So my company, we do a thing called Tech Days. It is a week-long hackathon, essentially. Monday, you do a bit of planning. 3 days of direct hacking. Friday, you do presenting. And you present it back out to the company and say, I built this. Do we build these great systems and improve all of our systems and make them better? Some people do. Are all the projects serious? No. Last time, someone linked a Raspberry Pi up to a light system just to see if he could. But we did one recently, and a team put something forward. And when I seen the demo for it, I went, that is brilliant. I want that. I would want that every day of my life. They called it Git Auto. And I'm just going to point this out now because this is something I found out recently. Have you ever done that? Have you ever put GitHub under Google? It literally brings you up a page that said you spelled it wrong. That's the branding of Google. I think that's amazing. But Git Auto, it is a Python OpenAI. So it's built solely with Git, Python, and OpenAI. It removes the tediousness of PR and commit writing. Have any of you ever built or ever put a PR on and then you go, description? Or have you ever got a PR for your review and all it says is initial commit? Good luck, work it out, lad. And then tracks your changes. So I'm going to give you a quick demo of this. Oh, I'm going to go back. skip out of that. All right, so I have it linked in here. So I'm going to delete this back out because I can be bothered to get a full PR of everything that I've changed, and I'll save it. And I'm just going to go into our records class. I noticed this last night, that this address line is called address line 1, and we don't have address line 2. And I'm just going to use this rename feature that already exists in IntelliJ to remove the 1. And it'll tell me, oh, you want to change all your getters and setters? Well, yes, perfect. Should just be address, or address line. So we've done that. We're loving it. We go in here. And it's the terminal. I hope you can all see that. Yes, you can. Perfect. So, oh. Is it in some weird mode? I don't know what I've done here. Sorry, 2 seconds. It's in like some control mode. Sorry. Actually, I'll just open a new one. So cd code. Sorry about this. Oh. Oh, the code. I wrote CD twice, that's why. Sorry. This is why we love live demos, isn't it? You want this to happen. NIDC demo, perfect. Then we go here, and CD, NIDC demo. Right, we're here. So I am going to git add first. Yep, so our files are here. Now I'm going to do a different command. So this is a Python system that runs on it's Python, and it runs, and git auto commit. Oh, what have I done? Oh, I've broke this. Sorry, no module name git auto. I think I broke this. Sorry, I do apologize. But anyway, luckily I did think that I would probably do this. I think when I closed the terminal, the thing's not running anymore. I did believe that I probably would have done something stupid like this. So what I had one prepared already. So what this does is you commit it on, and once you commit it on, it writes your commit message. Once that's committed, you push it up, then you tell it to write you a PR. And I'll open one of the PRs that was already here, because the reason that that was already on was because I was changing stuff already. So if we look at this PR, you will very quickly see that generated that entire block. That PR, it uses natural language processing to update the record, and it's telling you that it updated the record in the NIDC. It changed the setters. It changed it from email to email address, and it give you context that it believes that's better self-documentation. It also changes the commit messages. So if you look down here, the commit messages, refactor email to fields and stuff like that, that is much better than committing changes. I think it's a much better way of doing PRs, and pretty much probably the best way of doing it, because as a developer, I didn't have to do anything. I just literally clicked it and went, okay, you worked that out, good, well done you. So this is something, as I said, they hacked together in 3 days. So would we ever release this out? No, it uses OpenAI, we can't send our code out to there, that's a very bad idea. So is this going to exist somewhere else? Yes. I know for a fact that it's going to exist somewhere else, because Copilot are actually releasing that feature very soon. They're calling it Copilot PRs, which I think is a bit on the nose, to be honest. So, limitations. Is AI perfect? Of course it's not. Let's be realistic here. Biases. Lack of data sets or bad data sets will always go against you. You'll have problems with the inferences made if the inferences are based on bad data. Still infantile. We're very much at the very start of coding with AI. We don't know how it's going to end up. We don't know what's going to happen with it. We know roughly where we might end up. We know that it could go badly, it could go well. But it's still very infantile. Until then, the plugins will all be awful. Regulations. Well, who here hasn't come? If anyone works in fintech, you'll know all about regulations. Eventually, regulations will come in and say what AI can and can't do. It's always behind, and once it catches up, everyone will have to make their changes to match it. Costs. If you're a smaller company, even if you're a bigger company, some of these enterprise licenses can get very expensive very quickly. And it comes down to how much you use it versus how much it's going to cost you. Conclusion. Will AI help make our jobs easier? Yes, of course it will. If you tech on AI, you will quickly find that everything you do becomes quicker, better, faster. Is AI being embraced by as part of the future? Well, IntelliJ, Google Cloud, AWS, and Git, probably 4 of the biggest companies in all of tech, are heavily invested in AI just to make developers' lives easier, and I can only see it going more and more. Is AI fun and interesting to use? Yes. If you take nothing else away today, yes, you will have fun using this. You will see AI do things and you'll think, how has it done that? And you start looking into it, and then the more you look into it, you end up down these rabbit holes and looking at these Sigma math stuff, and you go, well, I'm out here. So the takeaway from this probably should be that instead of going into AI and feeling defensive and attacking out at AI, you should be an AI defender. So you're probably wondering, to be a defender of AI, what does an AI defender look like? Looks like that. Thank you for listening. Any questions?
Thank you very much. We actually have Olivia here with a roving mic. If you have any questions, raise your hand first here.
You've said a couple of interesting things there. Amazing talk, high energy, by the way. That you can't use OpenAI in your fintech role and fintech jobs. What are really the concerns? What about indemnification or the fact that most of these AI models have been trained on so-called permissive licenses, but if you read the license, even MIT says you need to give credit to the person that wrote the original code. So how are we dealing with those challenges?
Well, that's the thing. Until the regulations get in place, we won't be able to deal with those. Someone has to decide the rules. At the minute, I think there's a lot of companies and a lot of AI developers and a lot of people who are just running on the fact no rules means no rules. If the government doesn't put a rule in place, who's going to stop us? They're acting like toddlers at the minute, and that once they start putting on the AI stuff, just like the finance industry got shut down for a while, where they went, look, get your houses in order. AI will have the same problems soon. There will be licensing issues. There will be who actually owns the code. Even when you take into account things like OpenAI, a lot of companies that do use or have used OpenAI are going to have to start thinking about, should I have actually sent our code out there to get reviewed, to come back to me? Like with mine, that was a closed off repo that I got our platform team to build so that it would never touch anything else. And that was a big security worry when I said I was going to do that. They were like, oh, yeah, you come to us and we'll set you up a repo and you don't touch anything else. That's why nothing else is open on my computer at the minute. Yeah, good question, thanks.
Any other questions?
Just getting a workout.
How's it going, Paul?
Hey,
what a great talk. As a quite experienced software engineer, like using these large language models, like you can infer what is good and what is bad. Like I use it on a daily basis as well, and sometimes I get like terrible answers, and I can re-prompt them. But for someone who is not very familiar with software engineering, coding, etc., what sort of advice would you give them? For example, a student.
Yeah. So sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So and how to prompt like really good questions.
Yeah, I think to be honest, that's a new key skill that's going to need to be developed. It's not just so. I'm going to let you all in a secret. Who's not a developer here, right? We use Google quite a lot. You say SO to anybody in here, they go Stack Overflow. What? Sorry. So we Google a lot, and it's sort of something. It's very similar to Google in that you learn how to develop better Googles very quickly. I think that this is another skill that people are going to have to learn, is how to prompt themselves better and get better responses back from it, and how to re-prompt if you think it's wrong. The other good thing is that there's still obviously a safety net. I would never advocate that we check on the code. AI wrote it, just put on a comment, AI wrote it, and we all just pretend it's perfect. There will be someone, there will be a me, there will be a Darren, there will be someone who's higher up and senior who looks at it and says, yeah, that's awful, that doesn't do what it's supposed to do there, lad. And that's the idea, is that we'll always need that set of eyes on a human that looks at it and processes themselves and says, yeah, I don't think that's right. Plus, you have enough safeties behind that. You know, you've got your development environments where things will actually go out. You should actually you should run it locally and stuff like that to see, because the things you're talking about, bad prompt or bad responses back, really comes down to, does it actually do the thing it's supposed to do, and does it do it efficiently? And that's where you only really find that out as you actually test it itself. But yeah, I do agree. The prompt, sometimes you put a prompt on, it gives you something back, and you say, that's the worst way of doing that. Well done, you. So yeah. It really is. It's an acquired skill. It's something people are just going to have to pick up and learn, something that's going to be new, and I guarantee people will get it very quickly. AI is very intuitive. Thanks.
There was a question towards the front. Yeah, Olivia, just here.
Should have got roller skates.
Cheers, Paul, for that great talk. One thing I'm curious about, so ChatGPT and those LLMs are trained off the internet, and Stack Overflow would be a source of that content. If developers start using ChatGPT and stop putting recent things, like as new technologies evolve, new paradigms evolve, the Stack Overflow doesn't have that source. How do we avoid things like ChatGPT becoming, like not having current knowledge? Like how do we keep it evolving whilst we have this new thing that people will start splitting developers? Some will go to still Stack Overflow, others will start using ChatGPT instead.
So, sorry, just so I understand the question, are you saying that if everybody switches over to ChatGPT, Stack Overflow will stop being used and therefore that data set will be outdated?
Yeah, in terms of the data, yeah, I was going to say that it may not be as maintained if people use it. Like, say 90% of developers use ChatGPT, only 10% use Stack Overflow as the paradigm changes.
Yeah. Personally, in my opinion, I think the way that would work would be that we would just look for, so it's what I mentioned earlier, biases in the data. So that would be more recency bias, that you're only looking at records that are old because nobody updated Stack Overflow. The idea behind it is that there should still be, your documents. Your company should release better documentation, and then what they could start doing then is they could start linking those to ChatGPT, official documentation of programming languages. I would much prefer that than going on Stack Overflow and hearing from some random username, Goku57, who tells me that I have to write this for loop this way. I would rather see the documentation that a company wrote and say, oh yeah, that's the way they wanted me to write this. Well done, you guys. And if you link that into ChatGPT, even better, because I don't even have to go and look at the documentation. I can look for the very specific part that I want. So yeah, good point. That Stack Overflow stops being used. We have to stop relying on it as a data source itself. So yeah, go.
Olivia, just behind you, actually, there's a question.
Hi there, great talk. My question is more, how do you feel about OpenAI being used in both a professional sense and in an educational standpoint? Now, some of my lectures are very open and embrace using like ChatGPT to write certain questions for practice tests and even creating exams. However, I do know that there's some industry professionals who are heavily against people using like ChatGPT to write code and things like that there. And I want to know how you feel, and how I feel about it is it's great for learning, especially if you're stuck in a bit of code or you don't know what this error means. Mm-hmm. It's really good for telling you where to look and how to help yourself fix something.
So, I mean, it's weird because what you're talking about, that first camp of people who are sitting on their own saying, no, you learn by coding and that's how you learn. That was me. That was me like 5 weeks ago, or 2 months ago, and then I seen that meme and I thought, this could write me unit tests. And that immediately sold it to me. I went, oh, this could write me, I'm still going to start using it. And the more I started using it, the more I found not only, I've been developing in Java for 9 years, so I've done all different languages, I've picked up all different things. Not only was it really good for unit tests, it's actually really good when you get stuck on specific things. And I was finding I was learning. If I bring up the Visual Studio Code thing, and you'll see that it not only gives me the chunk of code, it gives me a full explanation. You will very rarely find that. So again, if it's any lectures in the bottom, I'm really sorry. All your students are Googling the problems that you're setting. That's how it works. Everybody uses Google, everybody uses search engines. All this is doing is sort of conglomerating that down and a more manageable way of looking at it in a way that you can track it. So yes, 2 months ago, I would have been in that camp of, yeah, you should just learn by coding. But now I am thinking, why not do both? Why not embrace both? So yeah, I hope that answers you, sorry.
Yes, perfect, thank you.
Is there a final question from the floor? Yeah, just over here, Olivia, over this direction.
Get her a bottle of water.
You've demoed some very simple code, obviously, for the presentation. Did you trying to get some system design, multiple classes, and how does it fare with the bigger concept of good software architecture?
So yeah, putting together architectures, I don't think it's brilliant that. There still needs to be humanized. There's specific programs that are designed for AI with putting together architectures for you. You give it on the prompts, you give it on the specific things that you need it to do, and it'll come up with, well, you should probably do this, this, and this, and link them together with this. As far as, multiple classes and stuff like that, one thing I found is that once you introduce multiple classes or even hierarchy of classes like directories, it starts panicking. It starts, and this is one thing I would point out about it, especially with Copilot. You start having to be a bit more specific on where. For example, I gave the method A. So that method A existed and it had the class open. If that existed in a different class, it would start, not only does it sort of go, oh yeah, method A, I know what you're talking about, it mixes up something sometimes. Sometimes you'll find that. And they are, as I said, they're very infantile. They're small bugs. But the idea is, I think, the more developers get behind them, the more people use them, the more companies will invest into them and say, yeah, well, we should make it better. Does that go? Sorry, does that answer your question? Perfect.
Well, thank you all, and thank you for a great presentation.
Thanks, everyone. And remember to say please and thank you to ChatGPT as well, in case I'm wrong.